Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Vince Gethings from Tri-City Equity Group with another episode of the Cash Flow Project. Today's guest is Eric Martel. Eric Martel purchased his first apartment building at just 18 years of age while still attending university. After graduation, he got a position as an actuary, which we're going to all learn about what that is because I had to ask him 30 seconds ago. I was like, I don't know what that is, but we'll learn about what that is. And then how he was dismayed to see hundreds of company pension plans being rolled over to 401ks. And you might not know what that means, but I have a pretty good idea what that means, but we'll have Eric open up our eyes to understand what that means, and then shifting the retirement risk to employees. This made him reconsider traditional benefits about saving for retirement. After the dot-com crash of 2001, Eric looked for other ways to earn passive income and founded the Martel Turnkey with his family. And Eric now shares what he's learned so you too can stop trading your time for money and reach financial independence. Eric, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Vince. Pleasure to be here.
Yep, I'm super excited. I couldn't even finish your intro there without already getting excited about some of this stuff because I do have I don't know what you call it, a chip on my shoulder about that 401k shift thing, and I know a lot of that happened before me. But I'm in the military, and we recently just got shifted because that was one of the best things about the military was that pension, and then even they were like kind of one of the last holdouts in the U.S. to shift over from a defined benefit to a defined contribution. So I want to jump right into that. But first, what is a actuary? So we can get that out of the way.
Yeah. So actuary is basically a math specialty for measuring financial risk. So we work a lot in insurance, and also in pension, defined benefit pension plan. And I'm surprised that you knew about defined benefit and defined contribution, the difference between the two. So not many people know about that. And the reason why they don't know about that is that most of them have been eliminated 20 years ago.
Yep.
So, and when I started my career as an actuary, I don't practice anymore, but when I started, every day, that's what I was doing. I was kind of getting rid of all the defined benefit pension plans, which is, and then converting them into basically a 401k, which is basically a big savings account, sometimes with employer contribution.
Got it. Yeah. And we can dive right into that too. And then talk about how, one of the things about this new economy and how the rules are changing and that the generation coming up, the millennials, really can't listen to anybody that has grown up in the economy for the last 50 years because those rules don't apply anymore. They need a new way, a new system, a new way of thinking, and if they're ever hope to achieve financial independence. But I guess the first thing is since you've done a lot with the 401k stuff, and just maybe educate us on what the defined benefit was. I don't know if there's too many people out there that still offer that, and then what that the new process or the defined contribution 401ks and how that shifted the risk of those and who ended up taking on the risk from those plans.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty important because initially these defined benefit, these retirement plan were designed by employers to attract employees for the job. So that was a great benefit, and they basically would guarantee. Let's say you work 25 years for the company. I'm going to guarantee that I'm going to pay 50% of your final salary. So for life after that. So this is you're going to work 25 years, and let's say at 25 years from now you make $100,000. I will pay you $50,000 a year in pension. So the idea was that you would get that. You would get also your Social Security, which would pay about a quarter of that. And then you had some kind of savings and some kind of investments, and that would cover, up to 80 or 90 or sometimes 100% of the rest of your compensation. So that was the three stools, basically, of retirement benefit. Social Security, that leg has been kind of like loose and shaking for a while and cracked. So we don't know when it's going to fall, but let's assume that the government somehow is going to fund that, is going to continue to work towards that. Then we talked about the defined benefit pension plan, these corporate retirement plan. Very few people have them now. The only people that have them is the kind of like union workers, people in large companies, and government workers. So these are basically the only ones that still have that. And now that's been under pressure for a very long time. And then because the companies, they're taking the risk for that. If the company is guaranteeing you that they're going to pay you $50,000 in 25 years from now, they have to invest the money now. So they are putting together a team of investors to make sure that, they invest the money correctly, and they monitor that the reserve, the estimate. And that was my job as an actuary, was to make sure that they have enough money in reserve to pay these benefits later on. So that was very important. Every once in a while, the employer would have to write a check for a few $1 million just to fund the retirement plan, right? So they didn't really like doing that, and this is one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of that. And now the difference is that when they shifted to a 401k and they give you the money, they say, well, this is worth $50,000 or $100,000. I'm going to give you $100,000 in 401k. At retirement, you have to figure out, so you have $100K today, you have to figure out how to invest it. Most people don't know how to invest the money properly. You have to continue to contribute. You have to determine yourself how much you need to contribute in order to have enough money at retirement. And then your last or one of the other puzzle piece in here is that you have to figure out as an individual how you're going to convert all the savings into a passive income stream. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to figure out as an individual that, you're not equipped for that. I mean, you didn't train for that. You didn't, most workers are not investors, so they don't know how to invest the money. They don't know how to do financial projections. They don't know, but so all these things, they need to be figured out. And this is why it's a big challenge. And everybody wants to put money in the 401k, but how much money do you need to put in your 401k? Well, it depends. And, it depends how you're going to convert that money at retirement. So that's the big key here. But my point of view is that there are alternative solutions to investing in the 401k that would better give you a passive income, maybe even earlier than the retirement age, and then you would be able to retire early, where most people are just dreaming about that now. Most people are talking about retiring later, working more and retiring later in order to be able to retire and take some time off eventually.
If they're lucky, right? That's the one thing that kind of opened my eyes, is like you start doing the financial models of whatever this traditional system is, even if it is, the 401k, it's like, if you're lucky, you can retire. But most people, they're like just now realizing, like, I can't retire at all. It's not even an option anymore for a lot of Americans. And, they're already at 20, 25 years of their working career, and they just got the rug pulled out from under them. And you mentioned, government employees still kind of have that defined benefit. And the reason I know about it is because I am a government employee, and we just got that taken away. So I'm in the military.
That I was when you mentioned that earlier, I was very surprised by that.
Yeah. So it was 2013, I think. We went from what traditional for the military is called the high three. So you get paid 50% of your highest 3 years of rank that you achieved, just like a defined benefit pension, and that's for life. Well, they got rid of that. And then if you join the military after 2013, I think it was, you get put into what's called a blended retirement system. So now you get some pension if you make it all the way to 20, but for the most people, it's your standard 401k. And then even inside that, it's they do some contributions. I think it's up to like 4%. So, it does a little bit, I guess, but not really. So they'll do a 4% matching, and then, but you only get to pick like 5 different ETFs to choose from. So you're extremely limited. Like you have like your S&P 500 index fund, like your Russell 1000 or your small cap fund. And so you only have like 5 choices, and that's all you got. And that's the new retirement plan that the military is moving forward. And right now it's like the blended, but I'm sure that's just, transitory to a full on, 401k where they're just going to get rid of the pension altogether in the next decade or so. So
just soften the blow.
Yep, exactly. So that's kind of what happened, the last few years with that system. But anyway, moving on. So what are the new rules? One of the things that you have on here is you want to, educate millennials or the new generation coming up as they enter the workforce, or as they're maybe halfway through their working career, maybe they're 30 or 40, and they're just realizing now that all the stuff they were taught is not going to work anymore. Like those rules don't work anymore. So what advice do you have for them as they're starting to realize, as their eyes are starting to open, that they need to change how they're doing things if they ever hope to retire and be financially independent?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, my recommendation is you should really consider, do I even want to invest in a 401k? I mean, there are some tax advantages investing in the 401ks. I mean, your contributions would be tax deductible and all of that. But my recommendation is to kind of like invest in something that would also be taxable and that would provide cash flow that you can use today, and that you would be able to do an early retirement on. So the average millennial, they want to retire at age 58. But you can't retire at age 58 if you have a 401k, because you have to wait until you're 59 and a half if you don't want to pay any penalties. So you can't do that. Also, if something happens, most people think that, I'm going to retire at 60, I'm going to retire at 65. You don't know when you're going to retire. There's a lot of things that happens, Sometimes you have to, you have a health situation, you have to take care of a loved one, and these would take you out of the workforce earlier, potentially, than you expected. And also the late career layoff. If you get laid off, like when you're 55 or something like that, it's pretty hard to get another job after that. And it's even if I get a job at the same level. So you might have to settle for a job that pays less, work more hours, you may have to relocate and all that kind of stuff. So, that's 55 when you thought you would be making this much money, and now all of a sudden you go take a deep dive. That's another big thing. And the other thing too that's happening in the economy in general is we're turning more and more into a gig economy, project-based kind of like work. And that means that for on one hand, it means that there's going to be some gaps in income. Yes, you're going to make a lot of money here, $100, $200 an hour, maybe, if you're lucky. And then you're going to make a lot of money for 6 months or a year. And then you're going to be 6 months off looking for another project that's going to be similar. And so you're going to have these gaps in income, and these ups and downs in income that you're going to have to deal with a lot more. And so you want to kind of like even those out and fill the gaps with something, with passive income. So income that's going to come in on a regular basis, and that hopefully it's going to have some tax advantages. So that's the goal, is to build a passive income kind of portfolio.
And we'll get into the best asset to do that, because I have my favorite asset.
Yeah, I didn't know if I want to jump in there now.
I did have something that you hit something, piqued my interest on something, and I want to foot stomp that. So you mentioned this gig economy, which could be, on one side of it's like super alluring, because it's like, well, I can control my time, I can work when I want, and I can pick up I can do 10 jobs today and then be off for the rest of the week if I want to, because that's how it works. Examples of like Uber drivers or something like that, or maybe virtual assistants on like Upwork or something like that. And there's even higher level, like was it Paro or something like that, where you can be an executive level virtual assistant, which we actually have a virtual assistant CFO who, this guy has multiple master's degrees and he's very, very well equipped, but that's what he does. And he's a virtual assistant CFO. He pops in every quarter, tears our stuff apart and then leaves for a couple months. Yeah. And so it's very, it's very alluring to have this gig economy. But the thing you mentioned is that gaps in income. So what do you think a lender is going to think when you go to get a car loan, when you want to go finance your house or something like that, and you have all this spotty, not consistent income? That's right. The underwriters are going to be like, what is going on here? This person's not creditworthy. They're not financeable. They don't know when their next check's coming in. So that is the double-edged sword of that, or the other side of that sword is having that freedom of that gig economy, and you work when you want and all that stuff. But creditors really want to see steady, consistent, cash flow in. So let's get into how we create that passive income to not just smooth out those gaps, to make sure you're not, sweating at night because you had a slow week and all of a sudden you don't know how you're going to eat the next week because you're, no gigs came in, I guess is, and also be, creditworthy so you can actually go get, a house loan or something like that when it's time to buy one. So how do we do that? What's the best asset class?
Yeah. So the best of all, the long answer, let me give you the long answer, because I think that if you're thinking about retirement, it's okay, well, I want to convert, so I'm going to save some money somehow, maybe not in the 401k, maybe it's something else in some other investment. And then I'm going to retire at whatever age. I'm going to plan for 60 or 58 or something like that. And then, so the traditional ones is kind of like bond ladder, where you basically have a series of bonds with different maturity, and then you have to kind of manage that. And the reason why I mentioned that is that it depends also on the environment and when you retire. You don't know 25 years from now, is it going to be a high interest environment or a low interest environment? Today, we're in a low interest environment. So if your plan is to use a bond ladder to generate passive income, this is a horrible idea. Same thing with annuity. It's a horrible time to be buying an annuity right now. It's always a bad time to buy an annuity, but this is even a worse time today because of the interest being low. So this is just incredible. So then you kind of go to the drawing board and you say, well, obviously there's the stock market. Stock market is not really passive. And of course, there's going to be the ups and downs. So the famous rule that they're talking about is that 4% withdrawal method, where you basically take out 4% of your asset value in the first year. And then you basically continue that and you adjust with inflation for the following years. So, that gives you an idea of how much money you need to have, right? So to basically 25 times the amount of money that you want to make per year, this is how much money you have to have in savings. So that gives you a target to achieve. So it could be, $1 million, $2 million, $2.5 million that you need to get in savings in order to do that. So that's a significant amount of money. And then, so if we go to a drawing board and white canvas, as I say, is and then what would be the ideal investment? Well, as we said, I want to have passive income. So I want net positive cash flow. I want to have something that appreciates, something that I can use leverage. So I can put like 20% down, let's say, and I can control 100% of an asset. I want to be able to, I want that asset to appreciate. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I also want tax benefit on top of that. So I want to be able to have some kind of tax advantages using this asset. Well, there's only one asset that does that, and it's rental property, rental real estate. So it could be single family rental, could be commercial, could be mobile home park, it could be, but rental, because it's going to give you that positive cash flow. Well, not everywhere, but you have to find the right market and the right investment. But you can have an asset, a single family rental that is going to generate some revenue, is going to pay for all its operating expenses. It's going to pay for the property management company. It's going to pay for the mortgage, and you're going to be left with money at the end of the day. So these are the kind of houses that I sell, that I invest in some markets. And that's basically it. You buy $100,000, you put $20,000 down with $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 in closing costs. And after you pay all your expenses, you have a positive cash flow of about $250 a month. So that's the kind of asset you want to have. And on top of that, it appreciates. You use leverage. You have great tax advantages because you can use depreciation against your revenue, and you're off to the races.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially right now, we're recording this in October 2021. So inflation is the big, the hot topic right now. And real estate, for the most part, is inflation resistant because it'll normally appreciate with the market with inflation. So it'll hedge your bets there as well, where other investments are just get eaten alive, especially like savings. If you're not making 5% this year in your savings account or any other savings mechanism you have, you're losing money. And a lot of people just don't realize that as well, of how you're getting eaten alive by inflation, especially this last year or so. So real estate.
The last place you want your money right now is in the bank.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Because you have the fees on top of that, and then you have inflation that's just eating away, and it's very. Yeah, you don't realize that, but that's what's happening. I mean, the inflation is eating away at it. You look at your bank account, and it's the same as last month, but no, you've lost purchasing power.
Yeah, I was gonna say the purchasing power. Right?
Yeah, that's where the problem is. It's like it's invisible, but it's very important to realize that.
Yep, and you have to be always aware of the opportunity cost of those decisions of. If I have this $100,000 in a saving account, what's the opportunity cost of that? Well, there's a lot of other places you can park that money that'll give you a higher risk-adjusted return than that savings account. So that savings account's like guaranteed you're burning money. Like it's not even,
And seems people prefer to have the certainty of losing money than the risk of making money. I find that very interesting. I mean, I'm in the risk management business, and you analyze all the risks, and then you kind of pick. You would blend like different investments in order to kind of like minimize your risk and stuff like that, and expand, maximize your return at the same time. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you leave money in the bank, you'd rather do that than invest in real estate is very interesting to me. And that's because you don't see the inflation at work, but it's there.
Yep, absolutely. So getting into so you do single family, it sounds like.
I think, I recommend initially that people do start with single family rentals, turnkey single family rentals. So keep your job, do your job, and then you kind of accumulate every year. You accumulate 1, 2, 3 single family rentals, and then after sometimes you don't need that many, but after a few years, you have sufficient passive income that's being generated by that portfolio that it pays for all your expenses. Then you can continue to work, but you don't have to. I mean, it kind of shifts your whole mentality about work that, hey, I'm doing this for fun now. So all my expenses are paid. So that's what you want to do. You could go depending on how much time you have, how much money you have. There are different strategies. Real estate there's a vast universe of investment in there. And so a lot of them generate passive income, but you have to have the time, the money, and sometimes some special skills in order to do that.
I was going to mention that just because you have the time and money doesn't mean you're good at, you're good at
exactly.
it. You have the intestinal fortitude to deal with a resident or a tenant that's, dug in, won't get evicted or causing problems and wrecking your stuff and having to deal with that. A lot of people just, they deal with it once and they have no problem handing the keys over to a property manager or a qualified team to manage that for them.
Yeah, yeah. And in my book, I mean, that's what I talk about too. I talk about the first thing you need to focus on is the resources that you have available. So how much time you have to dedicate to this. Most people have full-time jobs. So you want to have something that's really turnkey, ready to go, something that's been renovated and it's just ready to go. You just put your money down and then you get passive income. And that's what we do. That's what we specialize in. Then if you have, then the amount of money you have. So if you have a lot of money, then maybe you want to go into a multifamily or some kind of other office rental kind of space where, you know, your money is going to go, is going to help buy bigger assets. You can get different kind of loans, and then it might, as long as it cash flows, then you're going to be fine. It's going to be great. And then if you have some skills, so like if you're a doctor or you're so for as an example, I mean, maybe you want to do medical office building. If you're familiar with any kind of like nursing home, maybe you want to invest in nursing home or something like that. These are, I would recommend for people that have that kind of skills, that kind of that kind of network of people that know what needs to happen with these homes, how you prepare the building for medical office, how do you prepare it for a nursing home and stuff like that.
So a lot of it's
so these are
just leveraging, right? You have to leverage your resources, your time, your money. Exactly. And then also a lot of people kind of get stuck on that. And I was just mentioning this on a different show as well. It's like a lot of people they only think about leveraging money. Like, well, if I can go to a bank and get a loan, I'm leveraging that. And that's like kind of where they stop. It's like, you can leverage so much more. You can leverage other people's time. You know, if you're working a full-time job, especially if you're in like a high stress, environment, maybe you're a lawyer or a, a ER doctor or something like that. Like your time is going to be, wrapped up, leverage somebody else's time where they have the time, they have the experience to go find these assets, secure them, lock it up, build the business plan and do that. So there's so much more things to leverage other than just, what money you have in the bank account. So a lot of people need to think like that as well.
That's right. I mean, there are syndications as well. Like if you don't have, you can do that. And this is all what you mentioned too. Like this is what we do with the turnkey as well. I mean, we find everything. We hook them up with the insurance company, the property management company. The house is renovated. There's a tenant in place before we close. Everything is ready. So it's cash flowing from day one. And and then we hook them up with the bank as well to get their mortgage.
Got it. So
that's the advantage.
So you mentioned, finding your first investment. So it's somebody, somebody's listening, they want to, dip their toe into this water, maybe pull some money out of their 401k to try this. Where do they start? What's their first steps of starting? Either is it market research? Is it finding a firm that does this type of thing and helping, working with them? Or so how do you get into that first investment?
I think the first one would be to actually do a Google search and look for turnkey rental providers. I think that'd be a good one. There are quite a few out there, and then kind of like do your research about the different markets and stuff. If you want to have something that cash flows, so typically the coast, West or East Coast, they don't cash flow typically unless you put a lot of money into them. So that means that your cash on cash return is going to be very low. So we specialize in kind of like the central United States, like the Midwest and South. So we're in Memphis, in Cleveland, St. Louis, and Detroit right now. So these are four of our big markets. And these markets, they cash flow. It's a little bit of a unique kind of environment, but there are quite a few markets like this that cash flows where the purchase price of the property and the rent end up in a specific in the perfect alignment for positive cash flow. So typically around the 1% rule. I don't know if your audience learn about that 1% rule, but this is a kind of a good rule of thumb if you're looking for properties. To try to determine if there's a chance that they might cash flow or not. And all our properties are around that 1% rule.
Got it. So turnkeys in Midwest areas, that was your market there? Is that what you said, the Midwest areas?
Yeah, Memphis in Tennessee and Cleveland, Ohio. We also do like Cincinnati, Ohio. We do St. Louis, and we do Detroit.
Good.
And Akron as well.
Akron's Ohio as well, right?
Ohio as well. Yep.
Got it. All right. No, those are good.
Yeah.
All right. So after they get maybe a couple of those knocked down, then what? What's next after that? Do you recommend?
So after that, my recommendation is once they reach about like 80% of their expenses are covered by passive income, then they're going to already start to feel a little bit more freedom. So that's going to be, I think, very liberating, I would say, for them. And then at that point, what you can start looking at, you can look at other types of investment. Maybe you want to convert that into your portfolio of single family rentals into a multifamily or some other type of investment, or maybe you want to jump and add to your portfolio a multifamily or an apartment building or something like that, or a mobile home park. So you have more time at that point. You can also do what they call the BRRRR strategy, which you buy the distressed property. You do basically what we're doing. What we're doing is we buy the distressed property, we renovate it, we rent it out, and then we resell it. Now, if you have more time, then you can do it yourself. You can go and get the contractor, buy the distressed property, get an estimate, and then have the contractor manage the contractor, and then rent it out, and then find property management company, and et cetera. So the return is going to be higher on that for sure, as long as the contractor stays to their contract, and as long as you found the right market, and as long as you found the tenant that's going to pay the rent that you thought they would pay and that you can refinance. As long as you have all these little details covered, then it should cash flow and should have a good return. And this is what we do basically as a turnkey company, is that we know the market, we know what we can get, and we're the expert in these markets. But that's kind of the strategy that you can do after. You can, if you do a BRRRR strategy after that, you can definitely most likely do higher returns, and that's going to be much better for you.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. Yeah. Just, there's definitely, once you get those first couple down, you kind of feel like this is something that you're, comfortable with as far as getting out into a different kind of alternative asset class. Then after that, it's kind of like that self-education. And then you can pick your own adventure after that point and decide like, well, I like the passive thing, and just keep funding other teams and have them do all the hard work, or you can self-educate, maybe go to some courses or stuff like that, and start doing this on your own. But I think the first one, either if it's a turnkey or if it's a multifamily or anything in between, I think leveraging other people that have been there and have been doing it a lot, and leveraging all the mistakes that they've made, all the lessons they learned, leveraging their systems, their processes, their best practices is absolute vital to shortening your learning curve as an investor. It just, partner with somebody in some fashion for those first couple until you really understand what you're getting into. Because I see a lot of people, especially when I first started out going to like my local meetups, that, they'd be doing 10, 15 years of investing, trying to just fumble through it completely on their own. And I remember one instance was like, the guy was like, man, if I could just like 10 more years or 20 more years and I can retire. And I was like, how long have you been doing this? He's like, I've been, investing on my own for, I'm going on 20 years. I'm like, that doesn't sound fun at all. Like I'm in this to kind of shorten my curve a little bit and reach financial independence sooner. And he was like, yeah, 10 or 20 more years. And, I got this in the bag. And I'm like, that doesn't seem any shorter than just the corporate route or the W-2 route. And a lot more stressful. The way that they were doing it. So
and I found that too. Like I found a lot of people, because they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan and strategy together. I mean, once these are my resources, I don't have time. So I need to have these type of investments. I just have this kind of money. I don't have $1 million. I have like $200,000 or $100,000. So you kind of limited to what you can do. Then look for the strategies that work with that, and then you stick with that. Then all the rest is noise. I found so many people that are kind of like going from one strategy to the next, and it's and it doesn't work that way. And then it takes a lot of time, the time that they don't have to learn the new strategy, and then lose a little bit of money into that, and then and then only to realize later on that now they don't have any money and to invest in a real strategy that would have paid off. So I think it's very important.
Doesn't work unless, I don't know, maybe crypto. If you it seems like you can throw $1,000 and gamble on crypto and become a millionaire, but again, that's exactly what that is. It's gambling, right? So
yeah. And so I think having this strategy and sticking to it, be confident that the strategy works. Any kind of rental investment that are positive cash flow is going to get you there. Single family rentals is ideal because you can kind of you can start with one, you can add another one, and you can see yourself kind of going, kind of one layer at a time towards your goal of financial freedom. So that's the advantage there, instead of having these up and down and then losing money there. So that's the advantage of that.
Yeah, we like it. Definitely one way to get into real estate is the turnkey single families, and they're a lot more accessible. There's a lot of them. They're pretty much everywhere. It's not like in my world where multifamily, I might only do 2 or 3 deals an entire year, because there's a lot less 200 unit apartment complexes in Cleveland than there are 3-bedroom, 2-bath single family rentals that'll rent for $1,000 or whatever it is there.
Yeah.
So they're definitely a lot more plentiful. The even though real estate is a lot less liquid than the stock market, a single family rental is still a lot easier to offload than, example, my deals, like a 200 unit apartment complex or 100 unit apartment complex. It's like a whole thing to offload one of those. It takes months. It could take 3, 4, 5 months from the start of the process to even get it to the market and do all that stuff. Where a single family rental, I need to get some liquidity to go take care of this thing or whatever, and you can call an agent, list it right away, and you could be out of that thing in 30, 45 days. It's very different. A single family rental is very different than a single family home. Right? People that you're talking to, the people that are going to buy the single family rental, it's an investment for them. So they know, okay, well, does it cash flow? What's the delayed maintenance on this? Can you show me kind of the repairs that you've done over since you've held the house, and blah, blah, blah. And it's an investment. The single family home is, well, I don't like the counter, and then I think we need to blow this wall and then do some renovations and stuff like that. No, there's none of that. It's not emotional. It's not about, oh, I don't like this and this and this, and just it doesn't work like that. So it's a little bit easier. It's quite a bit easier to offload these single family rentals. So if people are thinking, oh no, it took me a year to sell my home, it's not the same as selling a rental property. It's a lot faster because people are looking more at the numbers. It's less emotional. Absolutely. Yep.
Then multifamily is great, but again, if you are planning to do that, you need to have the time to do that, right? So you need to. We bought also apartment buildings, and as you mentioned, the cycle for doing this is a lot longer. The amount of money that's involved is a lot bigger. The financing is a little bit different compared to a single family, just a residential mortgage. But then you have to go and do your due diligence. For me, my son and I, we always kind of go there and then spend a couple of days, do the due diligence and look at things and all of that. So if you're strapped with your job, it's going to be tough to do that and go and look at a building in Cleveland and then come back and then having to do all the other work that's beside that. So it takes more work, takes more money. Great investment, really like it. But again, focus on how much resources you have. If you want to invest in a multifamily and you don't have time and you have a little bit of money, but you're adamant that you want to do multifamily, then do a syndication or do a joint venture call Vince and say, hey, I want to invest with you. What does it take?
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And we get a lot of people like that too. And a lot of our investors are usually, they kind of fit into a couple of groups. A lot of them are just like, I am so busy with my job and I love what I do. It's like kind of the high income earner. They're a doctor, something like that. But
yeah,
I barely get sleep, let alone thinking about learning a new strategy. So, here's some money, go invest it, and they'll happily be a passive investor. Then we got a group that's like, they're almost at the retirement age, and they're just like, I need to juice up my 401k because it underperformed for the last 20 years. So I'm going to peel off, whatever 50K, 100K, put in a couple of your deals and, watch you double it over the next couple of years. That way I get back to where I should have been if this financial advisor told me the truth 20 years ago about this 401k or this whatever fund. Yeah. And then we get a lot of people, like I said, the newer ones that want to do this on their own. They want to be investors, but they don't want to jump in, and have the whole weight on their shoulders. So they're like, we're almost like partnering with them, either as a joint venture or a limited partner on a syndication. And, they're going to watch how we do things, and we kind of peel back the curtain, like full transparency. This is how we do things. This is why. These are decisions we're making. This is how we do the business plan and the CapEx and run management. And in that way, they're learning that way. It's like a college degree, but they're also getting paid on it. And then after that deal or one or two of those, then they can go off and decide if they want to do this on their own. So that's kind of how most of our investors are, but it's definitely out there. It's a great opportunity for anybody looking to take control.
Yeah,
absolutely. So on here, on your bio, you had something about the .com boom, and I want to switch gears to that real quick before we wrap up, just because a lot of people, we get into like this overnight success that took 20 years and a lot of stress and failures to get there. And a lot of people forget of what are the obstacles that this person had to come through to get to this position they're at. So I want to go back and see kind of what happened during the .com boom or crash or whatever it is. And then what was the mistakes you made, or what was the lessons you've learned from that propelled you to how you see things now?
Yeah. So I was working in technology before, and I had a lot of stock options. So I was in Canada at the time, and then I moved to California. So I didn't have my regular team of, accountants and lawyers that I had in Canada to kind of advise me on taxes and all of that. But I had all this stock options. And then I said, I want to invest in real estate. I was looking for cash flowing properties. I was living in San Francisco Bay Area. And there was nothing there that cash flowed that had a good return, a cash on cash return. You could make it cash flow. You just put a lot of cash in it, and it would cash flow. But then the return, your cash on cash return would be like 1% or 2%. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. And we didn't have like all these. We didn't have DocuSign in those days. In 2000, there's no DocuSign. There's no. The iPhone, I think, was like with the cameras and videos and stuff like that. That was not even out. So there was a lot of things that was you can't even imagine like what it was like to live there. But anyway, so you couldn't really go outside your bubble. So unless you were planning to go on a plane. So if I wanted to invest in Memphis or Cleveland, even if I knew at that time it would be good markets, I wouldn't invest there because it's too awkward and too difficult. So long story short, so I said, okay, well, I'm going to diversify my stock options. But I diversified everything into the stock market, and then the .com crash happened in early 2001, and then basically I was wiped out. I had a lot of stock options, and I had a lot of shares. And most people would not have taken it as nicely as I have. But even my wife was looking at me and is like, wow, you're taking it pretty easy. So that's what happened. I mean, it was very exuberant market. Everybody was kind of like, it didn't matter what you invest in, you were making money. You could throw a dart at the Dow Jones index and pick a stock it would make money. Everything was making money. And this is kind of what happened in the last few years here too. It's like, it doesn't matter what you buy, is going to make money. And that exuberance eventually comes to an end. And that's what happened with the dot-com crash, and everything kind of, people got tired of the price earning ratio that were, just incredible, investing in companies that were losing money year over year for 10 years. They got tired of that. And then they just, they backed out and moved on to other things. So that's why if the stock market goes up, that's great. But I think you need to diversify, and you need to diversify into a different asset class. So that's the key here, is that if the stock market goes up, yeah, okay, I have some stock, I have shares in the stock market that I invest in as well. But I'm diversifying, and I have other asset classes that if that goes down, I still have my rental properties, and I know that everybody's always going to need a place to live, kind of thing, and I know what's going on there. So I think that's the important message here, is to diversify into different asset class. Also, as you mentioned, Vince, earlier about the inflation. So inflation is, to protect against inflation, you have to go and invest in something that has an hard asset, a hard asset class, like real estate, like gold, like platinum and silver and all that kind of stuff. But the real estate, you can leverage, you have tax benefits, and it cash flows. I can't say the same about gold or silver or platinum. I don't get cash flow from gold. So that's the message from what I learned from my dot-com crash.
Good stuff. Yeah, and the diversified there. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm diversified because I have Apple and Tesla, so I'm diversified. Yeah. I'm like, no, like that's not how this works. So that having those alternative investments, completely in different asset classes and alternative investments is that true diversity. Even like for me, even if you have real estate, if I have some single families here in Michigan that I rent out, and then a multifamily complex in Charlotte, to me that's even better diversity than anything the stock market has to offer, because I'm in two geographically different separated locations, but two completely different economies at different levels of growth. I'm very much in a blue collar, Midwest cash flowing market where I can go get a bunch of 3-bedroom 2-bath homes that'll rent for $1,000 any day of the week, and then you go into a Charlotte, get a nice B class apartment, syndication there or JV there, where it's just like that place is like going to the moon right now. The economy in the Triad and all that in North Carolina is just exploding so fast. To me, that is more diversity and more of a sure thing than anything that that Wall Street can offer. So I'm all. Well,
what I like also is the control. I mean, that's what I felt in 2000 at the dot-com crash. What I felt is that I was not in control. I made a lot of money beforehand, all kind of paper money. But then when the thing crashed, I was just like, I didn't cause this. I didn't do this. I don't know, but I was not in control. I didn't feel like I was in control. So after that, that's when I decided that I want to invest in something. I want to invest in my own business, something that's going to generate passive income. I did all kinds of different businesses, like a gourmet sauce company. I had different things like that going on. And I said, at least if I fail, if I lose money and I lose everything, at least it's going to be my fault. I was in control and I failed it. And this is completely different. At least now I'm in control. Same thing with the real estate. At least I'm in control. If I have a rental property, I have different exit strategies for these rental properties. I can package them differently. I can maybe spend a little bit more money to renovate them. I can refinance them as a portfolio loan. I can do a 1031 into something else and not pay the capital gains tax. I can sell them to an owner occupied. Somebody that's going to move into the place, maybe you get better value. There's all kinds of things. I can tear it down and build a different type of building, maybe if the zoning allows it. So there's all kinds of different exit strategies for these things. once you own the stock, there's very few you sell or you buy more, or you do options that, call options or something like that to on the stock, but it's pretty limited.
Yeah, and the control for me, that was a big reason why I cut the cord or whatever you want to call it with Wall Street, and I ended up liquidating everything. I paid the penalties on my 401ks, my IRAs, withdrew everything out of my brokerage account because I got burned on it was a clean energy company, and I did so much research on, because I was a big stock investor. Well, I would say big. I lost a lot of money too, but but I spent so much time. I read all the books, the Warren Buffett's, the Fisher, and all those books, and Random Walk on Wall Street, like all the books I read.
Yeah.
Did all, did some courses, and I thought I knew what I was doing. Spent so much time like researching companies and all this stuff and doing the financial modeling. But at the end of the day, you have zero control. You execute that order, and then your entire investment is is sitting on the shoulders of this board or this CEO or this whoever, and you have no control. And for me, what happened was the company was submitting false records to the SEC and the shareholders, the CEO and the CFO, and like nobody knew what happened, like what was going on with this company. Like there was just like, they can't be sure. Like there's no way that much fraudulent activity is happening right now. So it's like there's like 2 weeks of like nobody knew what was happening. The stock, I forget what it was. Maybe it was like $35 and went down to like 35 cents in about over a 2 or 3 week period. And nobody, like all the shareholders, like, what is happening? How is this happening? And I don't remember what happened with the company, but after that happened, I just took everything out because for the controls, like I spent so much time building and curating this clean energy portfolio, and the foundation of it was this one company, and it was all fake, and it was like on all the, like it wasn't like some penny stock that nobody's ever heard of. It was like in all the news. It was like the darling for a couple months, and it was all BS. So I was like, I need to be in control. Pulled everything out and went off to the races in the real estate.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you kind of, and before 2001 and actually before 2008 as well, you listen to the analysts and all of that. They don't know. They don't know more than you do. It's just like, it's unbelievable. They're just marketing people to buy certain stock over other ones, and it's just because they represent this particular company in their offering or something like that. And it's just like it was very disappointing to know that all these analysts, they don't know anything more than you do.
Yeah,
I mean, they do all this analysis and all of that, and just like, and then they discover something like that. I invested in a company called Bre-X a long time ago, Bre-X in Canada. And it was a gold company, and they said that they had found the highest gold ore deposits in the world in Indonesia somewhere, and they had falsified the geological survey or whatever, the soil sample, and said, "Oh, yeah, we found this," and then they're just like, and then. Some people were saying, "Oh yeah, well that can't be. That's hard to believe." Like, why would you falsify? Eventually, you're going to have to come up with gold, right? So why would you lie to everybody and say, we found the best gold deposit in the world," and it's not true? Like, where are you going to come up with the gold eventually? It's ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, so that's
control. You want to be in control of your
exactly.
Your financial life. Anyway, we're running out of time here. Let's wrap it up with the fire round here. Before we get into that, any last bits of advice or stories that you want to get into?
No, I think so. I think if you get my book, you're going to get all the details about that, about the strategy, picking the right strategy, all the skills that you need, like in terms of the little calculation, the little things that you need to do in order to achieve financial freedom and leave a legacy for your children.
Where can they get this book at?
It's on Amazon.
Time for Money.
Yeah, Amazon. So stop trading your time for money.
Got it. All right. Well, let's get right into the fire round. Same questions we asked every guest. First one up. What is the best book you recommend other than Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I would say probably 401 chaos would be a good one.
Oh, that's a first.
Yeah. I think especially now when you're looking at it, you're looking at what's going on with 401k.
All right. That's a good one. Yeah. I've never heard of that one. I have to get it. What is your superpower?
I would say a fun one or just like a boring one. The boring one would be analysis, I think. So I'm numbers driven. That's what I would say.
Yeah. What about the fun one? Is it playing guitar?
Yeah, that's right. Every once in a while when I can.
Yeah.
So now I have it close so that I can actually practice.
Good stuff. All right. What is the biggest lesson you've learned over your career?
Biggest lesson I think is focus. I think it's focus.
Focus, persistence. Yep. Don't get the shiny object syndrome and switch strategies every 3 months because the first one didn't work.
Yeah.
It takes time.
I mean, if it doesn't work, and you tweaked it and it still doesn't work, you can move on to something else, right? I've had strategies like that and businesses like that, like the gourmet sauce company. We operated that for 6 years and was still just breaking even after 6 years. And it's just like, okay, well, but if you found something that works, that makes money, and you tweak it and it makes more money, then just stick to that and go as far as you can.
Good. All right. And then how can our listeners get a hold of you?
I think the best is Instagram, E_Martel. You can also reach me on Facebook at eric.martel.ca. And I also have a website, marteleric.com.
Got it. All good things. Definitely check out Eric's stuff he has there, his book and his websites, and the Martel Turnkey. See what kind of products he has to offer you to see if that they'll help you reach your financial goals. Well, Eric, thanks for coming on our show, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Vince. It was great.
It was a great show with Eric and his experiences and how he got into and found success with the turnkey rentals. So definitely check him out if that's something you're interested in. If you want to take a little bit more passive approach and invest into multifamily and commercial real estate, I think we're pretty good at that here at Tri-City Equity Group. So give us a shot to partner with you and see if our goals and our interests and our core values align to what you're trying to achieve. And you can check us out, tricityequity.com, or hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Vince Gethings, I'm pretty much everywhere. Definitely check out our Facebook group, the Honolulu Multifamily and More, to connect with like-minded individuals. We got about over 1,000 people in that community, all with that go-giver mentality, looking to help you reach your goals, on help anything from sharing best practices, lessons learned, mistakes, market information, maybe partner up with some of the people in that group. To definitely join Honolulu Multifamily and More. If you like this podcast, if you like this episode, definitely share it with your friends and family. We're looking to grow it and extend our reach to our community here. So please, we would appreciate that. And definitely leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this from. And then also, we are super excited to announce our Hawaii Millionaire Mindset Conference, the Blueprint, as we coined it. And this is going to be a 2-day event, July 21st through the 21st through 24th, 2022, on the island of Oahu. That's where Tri-City Equity Group is primarily based. That's where half our team is there. And then Band of Brothers with Duran, our new director of acquisitions, and his team joining forces to put together this 2-day conference, which is going to be packed full of everything from scaling multifamily real estate, or just real estate in general, how to set up the business, your processes, where to find capital, other vendors that we use to juice our returns, and just laying out our framework, complete transparency of how we do things as Tri-City Equity Group and all the lessons we've learned. And then going into building businesses. Duran and his team, Band of Brothers, are really successful in building and operating best-in-class operators, top performing operators in their niche of franchise businesses. So they're going to do a whole day event of buying and scaling businesses. And then we mix them together of buying businesses that buy your assets, that pay for your liabilities and your lifestyle. And it's a very beautiful thing when these things start coming together, of business ownership mixed with hard hard assets that cash flow monthly. It's a very beautiful thing. So you're not going to want to miss out of this event, July 2022. Check it out. We have early bird specials right now, millionairesmindsetblueprint.com to get your tickets and register for that event. Ko'olina, 4 Seasons on Hawaii. It is there's no better A-class place to have a working vacation networking event. About 400 people there. So networking with high performing individuals just like you. You're going to want to do it. Bring your family. They have Disney Alanis are there. They have the lagoons. They have all the things that Hawaii has to offer, the golfing, the luau's, the hiking, the beaches. So definitely make this your event this upcoming year for 2022, July 21st through 24th. Island of Oahu, Ko'olina, 4 Seasons. Get the tickets, millionairesmindsetblueprint.com. All right, see you there.